Hey everyone, welcome back. I am Siphesihle Frank. So before I get into this video, I would like to apologize for any noise that might happen during this video. It is raining outside. It is windy. There is a child playing in the other room. So if there's any disturbing sounds or anything, I am sorry. It is way beyond my control. But hopefully it won't get any loud. Okay, so let me get into this video. So today I'll be discussing the disappearance of Siphesihle Dlamini, but before I get into that, I would like to give out my usual disclaimer. I mean no disrespect to the people I am going to be talking about. This is just information I found online and compiled into a video for educational purposes and for people to be aware of these cases. Siphesihle Dlamini went missing on the 31st of December 2017 and she has still not been found. There isn't much information on this case because the way it all happened honestly was very sketchy, well, at least for me, and I honestly hope that the person who took her has many sleepless nights until she or he brings her back to her family. Siphesihle Dlamini was born on the 1st of December 2015 at KZN Hospital in Scottburgh, KZN, to her parents Siphesihle Dlamini and Scottburgh. The couple had met on Facebook and it was love at first sight for them. Siphesihle was still in high school when she was pregnant with Siphesihle. She decided to leave school before completing matric to look after her. A year after Siphesihle was born, Xolisi suggested that Siphesihle should go back to school and finish her matric. He went as far as offering to take Siphesihle, care for her, look after her at his home in KwaNyusa. They agreed, and in January 2017, Siphesihle went back to school and Siphesihle moved in with her dad. As young as the couple were, Siphesihle's parents matured really quickly. They were so responsible, and apart from that, they loved Siphesihle so much. They were so proud and so protective over her. The couple decided that Siphesihle would spend some of the December holidays in KwaXele with Siphesihle's family because her grandmother was missing her immensely. And then on the 31st, they were going to go back to KwaNyusa to spend the new year with Mxolisi. But unfortunately, this did not happen. On the morning of the 31st of December 2017, Siphesihle was approached by a friend who asked her if she would like to attend a church service at a new church that had just recently opened in the area. It was a last-minute suggestion, but Siphesihle agreed to go with her. A church car came to pick Siphesihle up with Siphesihle, her aunt, her friend Thembi, and her children. They arrived at New Apostolic Faith Mission Church in Amandawe at around 8 a.m. By the time they arrived, the church service had already started, so they moved into the church and sat in a few seats that were available in the middle of the hall. During the church service, the pastor invited everyone that was new to the church to meet him at the front of the hall so that he could welcome them properly. Siphesihle left Siphesihle sitting on a chair with her handbag on her lap and moved to the front of the church. Now, I'm not sure if Thembi and Siphesihle's aunt also went to the front of the church or they stayed behind, but according to Siphesihle, Siphesihle was surrounded by church members because they were sitting in the middle of the hall. Siphesihle estimates that she was gone for at least 10 minutes, but by the time she came back, Siphesihle was no longer sitting on the chair and her bag was where Siphesihle was sitting. At this point, Siphesihle panics because it wasn't like Siphesihle to just wander off, especially without her or Mxolisi. Siphesihle searched the church hall, the toilets, and the yard outside the church, but comes back with nothing. The news spread amongst the church members that Siphesihle had disappeared, so they too joined in the search. Siphesihle finds a group of children playing outside the church and she asked them if they had seen Siphesihle, and they had. One child said that she had seen her older sisters taking Siphesihle to buy chips at a local spaza shop. Siphesihle finds these older girls and asks them about this, and they admitted that they had taken Siphesihle to the shop with them, but they sent her back to church on her own, and that was the last time they saw her. She asked them which route they took and which shop they went to, but they did not want to tell her. She went to all the shops along the route, asking people if they had seen Siphesihle. She saw a group of young boys playing in the street who had confirmed to her that they had seen Siphesihle earlier on, walking with two older girls, and described her clothing, and it matched with what she was wearing that day. The shop that they possibly went to had so many roads leading to the church that it would have confused Siphesihle. I mean, Siphesihle was 3 years old, so I don't understand how it made sense to these girls to let a 3-year-old go back to church on her own. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. After exhausting all measures, the police were called and a case was opened. Search dogs were immediately brought to the area, and the search continued till the evening, but there was no trace of Siphesihle. Siphesihle remembers searching the area through the night whilst everyone was welcoming and enjoying the new year. She was in so much pain, and what pained her the most was the fact that she had to break the news to Xolisi. The girls who had admitted to taking Siphesihle were interviewed by the police a few days later, and their story kept changing. They ended up denying everything. They said that they didn't know who Siphesihle was, they had never met her, they had never seen her, and even the girl who had given this lead said that she had never spoken to Siphesihle and that she knew nothing, and they were never charged for anything. It was alleged that the last place she was seen was near a tavern in KZN Amandawe. Days went by, weeks, and there was still no sign of Siphesihle or any leads. A campaign was launched to distribute pamphlets all over KZN with Siphesihle's face. An amount of 50,000 rand was raised as reward money for anyone with information that would lead the police to Siphesihle, and a Facebook page was opened to raise awareness and give updates about her case. Some of the money went towards hiring a private investigator, Brad Nathanson, who has helped solve high-profile cases all over South Africa. The relationship between Siphesihle and her friend who had invited her to the service and the church members had gone sour. They stopped talking to her. They didn't even offer any form of support, any prayers, any comfort or anything like that. She remembers seeing a church branded vehicle driving past her house. It stopped at a spaza shop that was close to her home, and it left after a few minutes. When she went to the shop a few hours later, the owner told her that the church had left her 200 rand for her to buy candles. And she apparently never took that money. So if you go to church, you will know that candles are bought by people who are in mourning. So that was what the money was for. So in cases such as this one where a child disappears, the police start the investigation with the parents and close family. So in this case, Siphesihle and Xolisi were asked to take lie detector tests, and they both agreed and they both passed. Now, I'm not sure if any other people, like the 3 girls, were asked to take this test, but according to Siphesihle, they weren't, which I'm not okay with, because I believe those 3 girls know way more than they are letting on. Siphesihle is described as being an amazing and vibrant little girl who loved singing, who loved dancing, and who loved playing. Her father remembers that as soon as she could talk, she started coming up with her own songs, and he realized that in most cases they were about him. She was known for speaking her mind at such a young age, and she was just loved. She was spoiled and adored by her parents. Since Siphesihle's disappearance, Siphesihle and Xolisi have stuck it out, They have beaten the odds. On the 24th of November 2018, they got married, and in March 2019, they welcomed their second child, and they named him Piwokohle. And in August 2020, their third child, another son, Lindelo Kwanele. Honestly, to me, Siphesihle and Xolisi are a special couple. They have gone through so much at such a young age, but they continue to go through life carrying this pain inside of them. In the 3 years, they have been called to mortuaries around South Africa to view bodies of children that resemble Siphesihle. In 2018, a body of a young girl was discovered in Witbank, and the police believed that it was the body of Siphesihle. The couple traveled from KZN to Witbank to view this body. Siphesihle describes the trip as being horrifying. She was panicking at the thought that she might be going to look at the body of a baby. The child's face was very similar to Siphesihle, but she didn't have the birthmark on her right arm that Siphesihle was born with, and this is how they determined that they were not looking at their daughter. I can't imagine how traumatized Siphesihle is from viewing all these children's bodies, wishing and praying to herself that this isn't her child. Just thinking about it for me is traumatizing, so I can't even imagine going through it. Fortunately, they did get counseling, so that is a positive. And also DNA was taken from them and added to the DNA registry, meaning that if any child remains are found anywhere around South Africa, testing will be done using the DNA to determine whether they belong to Siphesihle, which is honestly way better than what they were initially doing. Brad Nathanson, the private investigator, was quoted saying that without any physical evidence to prove that Siphesihle is no longer alive, he will continue looking for her on the premise that she is alive and out there. He has encountered so many difficulties in this case. The area that Siphesihle went missing is very rural and it is tight-knit, so there's this thing where people just don't want to talk, or their memories are all fuzzy and failing them. Lieutenant Colonel Fanny van Deventer, who is the section commander of the Bureau for Missing Persons, says that in most cases the kidnapper is a relative or a family friend. It's someone who knows all the details and roots of the victim. But then with Siphesihle's case, it is a bit different because she wasn't supposed to be at church that morning. It was the first time that they had been there, and it was a spur of the moment decision. So who would have known that they were going to be there? And also, who would have known that Siphesihle would be called to the front of the church for a short period of time to create an opportunity to take her? Also, the fact that Siphesihle was surrounded by people when she was taken makes no sense. There is no way that no one saw anything. Like, that community is probably protecting someone. Someone knows something. Those 3 girls know way more than they are letting on. But then again, maybe they weren't lying. Maybe their first story was the truth. They probably just panicked. They didn't want to get into trouble when the police were questioning them. So a few theories. The first theory is Siphesihle was sitting on the chair waiting for her mother when she was approached by a child, probably a child her age, inviting her to go play with her outside. They both walked out and Siphesihle was taken from there. How she was taken, I'm not sure, because she was obviously not the only child playing outside and children would have reported it, Worst case scenario is that Siphesihle was taken by a person who had evil intentions and she is no longer alive, but her body hasn't been found, meaning that there isn't any evidence of this being true. Yes, until any evidence shows that she isn't alive, she is alive. Another theory is that whoever took her had 10 minutes to get away with her. Tracking dogs were brought to the scene but did not get a track or any scent of her, meaning that she was probably taken in a car, and that unfortunately means that she could be anywhere in South Africa by now. And lastly, the 2 older girls did take her to the shop and that they let her go back to the church alone. She probably got lost, probably didn't know where the church was, and someone could have kidnapped her from there. You know, sometimes I feel like people forget that there are real people behind these cases. There are people who are in pain, people who do not know where their children are, whether their children are alive or not. There were a lot of people at that church service, and there is no ways that nobody saw anything. I repeat, there is no ways that no one saw anything. There is definitely someone sitting on information, and this is basically me begging them to speak out. I don't know, maybe you're protecting someone, some form of loyalty. I don't know, but is it worth it? Her family needs her to come back home, alive or not. They need answers. They need closure. They need to be able to move on with their life, knowing what happened to Siphesihle. Be the bigger person. Go to the police. Talk to someone. Siphesihle was 3 when she was taken away, and by the time I made this video, she just turned 6. She may look a bit different from her photos because it has been 3 years, and unfortunately there aren't any age progression images of her, but she does have a birthmark on her upper right arm. If you have any leads on this case, any information, please contact any of the numbers in the description box, or you can go to your nearest police station. And that is it for this case. I will see you guys in my next video.